So when you're planning to go scuba diving, you've got a ton of decisions to make. One of the big ones is how to enter the water. In today's video, we're going to talk about the differences between shore diving versus boat diving with an emphasis on entering the water. Hey guys, my name's Jeff. If you hadn't yet subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button so that you never miss a dive, because we love highlighting different dive sites and talking about different aspects of scuba diving along the way. Today we're out here on the North Shore of St. Croix at a dive site called Rust Op Twist. This is a site that's accessible both by boat and from shore, and we're going to talk about the differences and make a decision on how to do it today. So the first thing you want to do when you get to the shoreline is just stop and assess and see what's going on. Take a look at the bottom. Maybe it's loose rock or gravel or sand. Maybe there's large boulders there that you need to traverse. Just take stock of what's going on. Take a look out at the water. Maybe there's breaking surf overhead or chest high, or maybe it's just flat, calm day. Take a look for any currents, maybe any rip currents that are headed out there that could be dangerous. You can check in advance on different apps to see what the currents along shore are doing, and definitely know the tides if you're in an area where there's a big tidal change. So just stop, take a look at the water, and assess. So here at Rust Op Twist, which loosely translates from Danish to English as rest after work, the main dive site feature is this effluent pipe that runs from the shoreline down out to about 70 or 80 feet deep. But more on that in a little while. So when doing shore dives, it's also really important to have proper footwear, because you're not sure often what you're going to be walking over. A lot of times it's sharp rocks or coral rubble, and having a real thick-soled boot can go a long way to making sure your feet are protected. When entering the water, take it super slow. It's not a race. Just watch your footing, take it step by step, look for obstacles ahead of you. You want to make sure it's nice and safe. And enter with your dive buddy. You don't want to get in 2 minutes or 5 minutes before your buddy and then have a big gap between the two of you, because if somebody gets into trouble, it's near impossible to quickly close that gap and lend assistance in a reasonable amount of time. So enter and stay relatively close to one another. Obviously you don't want to be on top of each other, but stay close, because that way you can help each other out. Should somebody just make a misstep and fall, you can easily help them up as their buddy. So enter at the same time. So as you're headed out and you're looking down, make sure you're listening as well. You can hear those waves building and breaking in front of you. And by listening, you can prepare in advance for the approaching wave. You can turn yourself sideways, which is a great way to kind of just take a wave, particularly if it's kind of chest high or lower. You can really brace yourself. You're gonna have that mask in place again, maybe even that regulator in your mouth for those kinds of waves, but you can also take your hand and hold that stuff in place so that it doesn't get knocked off your face. Make sure you listen. So several times we've decided to even go through breaking surf to get in for our dive. Now we've really evaluated the conditions on the given day. We've looked at our training and our experience and our equipment and decided to go ahead and proceed with the dive. Now if you do go in through breaking surf, having that mask on your face is super important. Having the regulator in place, also equally important. A little bit of air in your BCD, because you can't often go over the top of some of the breaking waves if you need to. In fact, it's a lot easier to duck dive them and head under the wave. And having just a little bit of air in your BCD so you can get under the wave is important. Keeping that hand on your mask and your regulator, also important. But if you can duck dive them, there's less energy often under the wave than there is up above the wave, and you're not getting that pushback from the wave. So you can safely just scoot right underneath the wave and head out, as opposed to going up and over the top. Above all, stay safe. If at any point in time you're looking at conditions or getting in the water and you decide it's just not right, the waves are too high, the bottom is too rocky, whatever it is, call the dive. Anybody should be able to call a dive for any reason at any point in time, and even if that's before the dive even starts. So the slope of the sea floor is going to have a big impact on where and when a wave is going to break. Here at Rust Op Twist, it gets really shallow where the breaking waves occur, and we don't have a lot of room to even really duck dive. The waves look a little high for us today. A little sporty conditions out there. It looks like there's some rip currents as well. We could probably push our limits if we wanted to, but you know what? It's just not worth the risk. So we're gonna go hop on a boat. Let's head out there. Today, we're diving with St. Croix Ultimate Blue Water Adventures, or Scuba for short. And like most dive operators, they have a preferred method for entering the water, which brings me to point number 1 for boat diving. Make sure to listen to the entire dive briefing. The captain or dive master will cover all the logistics for the entire dive, including how best to enter the water. Here at Rust Stop Twist, the mooring ball is in roughly 30 feet or 9 meters of water, which requires a deep water entry. The most common deep water entry is a stride jump off the stern of the boat, and sometimes dive operators will give you the choice of doing this type of entry with fins on your feet or while holding them in your hand. Today, I chose to enter while holding the fins, and I'll cover the reasons why in a minute. But let's first take a look at this incredible dive site. Rust Stop Twist is famously known for its resident Caribbean reef sharks, as well as hawksbill and green sea turtles that call the reef home. The main landmark here, which also marks the entry from shore, is a large pipe that runs down to about 70 feet or 21 meters. Back in the 1980s, the estate on shore included a shrimp farm, along with a large effluent pipe that was put in place to allow liquid waste to run off into the sea. The farm is no longer operational, but when it was running, the nutrients it injected into the ocean attracted all kinds of sea life, including Caribbean reef sharks. And the sharks have not forgotten. Even though the shrimp farm has not been operational for years, the sharks still pace back and forth at the end of the pipe. Circling back to entering the water by boat, the most common entry again is a giant stride off the stern. Most often, a giant stride or stride jump is done with fins on, and I would certainly recommend this by default. This way you're all ready to go once you hit the water, and can swim away from the stern of the boat to avoid being hit by the swim platform that might be pitching up and down, as well as quickly make space for other divers to enter the water. However, when entering with fins on, you do need to shuffle your feet on the boat while approaching the stern, making sure not to trip over anything. Most times, a dive master will help you with this for safety. To perform a giant stride, place your fin tips over the edge of the platform. Look out at the horizon. With your right hand, hold your regulator and mask in place, and any other gear with your left hand. Take a large step out. Gravity will take care of all the rest for you, and there's no need to do any acrobatics or large jumps. If the water is relatively calm, there is no current, and I'm not entering the water at night, I'll also often just carry my fins with me and put them on in the water. It's just easier to stand up and walk on the boat this way. But the water conditions have to be just right. Another common entry is to perform a backward roll or back roll. This is a common entry on smaller boats that don't have a large swim platform at the stern and may have limited space. Typically with a back roll, which is a type of seated entry, you'll sit along the rail on the side of the boat, making sure all your gear is secure. Hold your mask and regulator in place with your right hand and any other loose gear or hoses with your left. Tuck your chin towards your chest and fall backwards. Gravity again takes care of the rest. A well-executed back roll can take some practice. On really small boats, you might need to time the entry with another person on the opposite side, so that when you both roll over at the same time, the boat is balanced and it prevents it from rocking too much. However, the best type of entry from a boat is the safest one, and if you're diving with a dive operator, they'll certainly help you. If you're diving off a private boat, you're a little more on your own for determining the best type of entry. But I will say one of the most common mistakes I see with diving from a privately owned boat is that everyone will enter the water, leaving the boat unattended at the surface. This raises major safety concerns. Never leave a boat unattended at the surface with divers in the water. There is no guarantee that the anchor will hold or the mooring line won't break. Or more importantly, if a diver surfaces in distress, there won't be anyone on board the boat to immediately lend assistance. Guys, make sure to check out another video here at the end and visit our online store of dive site inspired apparel. Thanks for watching, stay safe, and we'll see you underwater.